Have you ever wondered why some people get rich while you stay broke? Have you worked hard your entire life but still struggle financially? Do you see people making money easily while you can barely pay bills? Have you been told to work hard, save money, and be responsible, but it doesn't seem to work? Are you tired of living paycheck to paycheck while others build wealth? Have you followed the rules, did what you were supposed to do, but still can't get ahead financially? Do you feel like there's a secret to wealth that nobody told you about? Have you started to believe that getting rich just isn't possible for people like you? What if I told you that getting rich isn't about luck, connections, or being special? It's a system, a specific, repeatable system, and nobody teaches it, until now. You're not alone in the financial struggle. Most people are broke, not because they're lazy, not because they don't work hard, but because they've been taught the wrong system. They were taught to go to school, get a job, work hard, save money, and retire at 65. That system worked for previous generations. It doesn't work now. The cost of living has exploded. Wages have stagnated. Savings accounts pay nothing. Pensions don't exist. The old system is broken. And if you're following it, you're going to stay broke forever, because the system you were taught wasn't designed to make you rich. It was designed to make you a productive worker. There's a difference. The problem isn't that you don't work hard enough. It's that you're working hard in the wrong system. You're trading time for money, and time is finite. There are only so many hours you can work. Only so much you can earn trading your time. This is the employee system, and the employee system has a ceiling. You can make decent money. You can survive, but you can't get rich. Because getting rich requires leverage, and the employee system has no leverage. You work, you get paid. You stop working, you stop getting paid. That's not wealth, that's survival. Wealth is when money works for you, when your money makes money, when you're not trading time for dollars. That's the system nobody teaches. That's what you're about to learn. Here's what happens if nothing changes. Today, you'll work hard for money. Tomorrow, same thing. Next month, you'll get paid, pay bills, and wonder where it all went. Next year, you'll make a little more, spend a little more, and be exactly where you are now. And 10 years from now, you'll be older, more tired, and not significantly wealthier. Maybe a little more in retirement accounts. Maybe a slightly nicer car, but not rich. Not financially free, not living the life you actually want. The gap between you and the people who are getting rich will be wider, not because they're smarter or work harder, because they're playing a different game. And you'll still be playing the employee game, working until you're old, hoping it's enough. That's the cost of not learning the real system. Here's what the financial education industry won't tell you. Most financial advice is designed to keep you working. Save 10%. Invest in index funds. Work for 40 years. Retire at 65. This isn't bad advice for security, but it's terrible advice for wealth. You won't get rich saving 10% of a middle-class income. You won't get rich with index funds returning 7% a year. You won't get rich working until you're old. You'll be comfortable if you're lucky. Secure if you're disciplined, but not rich. Rich requires a different system, a system based on leverage, asymmetric returns, and compounding. A system that multiplies money instead of just accumulating it. A system the rich use but don't talk about publicly. This isn't theory. Researchers studying wealth accumulation found that the wealthy use fundamentally different strategies than the middle class. They don't save their way to wealth. They build assets. They create leverage. They take calculated risks with asymmetric upside. Economists confirm that wealth inequality isn't primarily about income. It's about what people do with income. The middle class trades time for money and spends it. The wealthy trade time for assets and multiply them. Entrepreneurs know that business ownership creates more wealth than employment ever will. This is the system, and it's teachable. The question is whether you'll learn it and apply it or keep doing what you've been doing and stay broke. Here's what you need to understand. Getting rich isn't about making $1 million. It's about keeping and multiplying money. Most lottery winners are broke within years. Most athletes who make millions end up bankrupt because they have money but no system. They don't know how to keep it or grow it. You need the system first, then money. Not money first, then figure it out. The system is what turns money into wealth. The system is what protects wealth. The system is what multiplies wealth. Without the system, you're just temporarily not broke. With the system, you build lasting wealth. That's what you're going to learn. Here's exactly what's going to happen in the next hour. Right now, you're stuck in the employee system, trading time for money and wondering why you're not getting ahead. In the first chapter, you're going to understand why the system you were taught keeps you broke. You'll see how the game actually works and why you've been playing it wrong. Then you're going to learn the wealth equation, the actual formula rich people use to build wealth, not save, build. Next, you'll discover the 3 wealth vehicles that actually work. How to choose which one fits you. How to start even if you have no money right now. After that, you'll learn how to create leverage so your money multiplies instead of just accumulates. This is where wealth actually happens. And finally, you'll learn how to protect and grow wealth once you have it. How to not be the lottery winner who goes broke. By the end, you'll have the complete system. The one nobody teaches. The one that actually works. By the end of this audiobook, you'll understand why you've been broke and what to change. You'll know the wealth equation and how to apply it. You'll have identified which wealth vehicle fits your situation. You'll know how to create leverage even starting from zero. You'll have a system for protecting and multiplying wealth. You won't wonder why others get rich while you don't. You'll know exactly what they're doing differently. You won't follow the broke person's playbook anymore. You'll have the rich person's system. You won't trade time for money forever. You'll build assets that work for you. What you will feel is clarity, power, like you finally understand how the game actually works, like wealth is achievable, not just a fantasy. And if you don't feel like you have a real path to wealth after this hour, then I've failed you. But I won't, because this system works, for anyone willing to use it. So here's the real question. Not whether you'll finish this audiobook, but whether you'll actually implement the system. Will you be someone who listens and goes back to the employee grind, who understands the system but doesn't use it, who stays broke because it feels safer than taking calculated risk? Or will you be someone who chooses one wealth vehicle today, who starts building assets this week, who looks back on this moment as when everything changed financially? You get to decide. But you can't decide later. Later is why you're still broke. Later is how you stay broke. The system is here, right now. Learn it, use it, get rich. You have 1 hour, 63 minutes, less time than you'll spend watching TV tonight, less time than one pointless meeting, but enough time to learn the system that changes everything financially. The next hour is going to separate you from the version of yourself that believes the broke person's lies, that stays trapped in the employee system, that never builds real wealth. You're either all in or you're out. There's no half listening. No, this sounds good, but I won't do anything. Now is when it starts. Right now. Take a breath. Look at your financial situation. That's your current state, the result of the system you've been following. In 1 hour, you'll know the different system, the one that actually builds wealth. And whether you use it is up to you. Let's begin. Chapter 1. Why the system you learned keeps you broke. Let's start with the truth about the system you were taught. Go to school, get good grades, go to college, get a degree, get a good job, work hard, climb the ladder, save money, invest in your 401k, retire at 65. This is the system everyone follows, and this is the system that keeps you broke. Not poor, broke. There's a difference. Poor is lack of money. Broke is lack of assets. You can make good money and still be broke. Most people are. They make 50, 70, 100,000 a year, and they're broke because they have no assets, just expenses and maybe some retirement accounts they can't touch for decades. Here's why this system doesn't work anymore. It was designed for a different economy. Post-World War II America, one income could support a family. Houses were cheap relative to income. Pensions existed. Social Security was solid. College was affordable. You could work one job for 40 years, retire with a pension and Social Security, and live comfortably. That economy is gone. Houses cost 10 times what they used to relative to wages. Pensions don't exist. Social Security is uncertain. College costs 50 times more. One income barely supports one person, let alone a family. The economic conditions the old system was built for are gone, but we're still teaching the system and wondering why it doesn't work. Let's talk about the fundamental flaw in the employee system. You trade time for money. This seems normal because everyone does it, but it's a terrible trade. Time is your most valuable asset. It's finite, non-renewable. Once it's gone forever. And you're trading it for money. Money that inflates. Money that gets taxed heavily. Money that you then spend on depreciating assets or just living expenses. You work 40 hours, get paid, pay taxes, pay bills, and have a little left over. Maybe you save some. Maybe you invest in retirement accounts. And you do this for 40 years. Working, trading your finite time for money, until you're old and tired and hopefully have enough to stop working. Here's the math on why this doesn't create wealth. Let's say you make $70,000 a year, good income. After taxes, that's about $50,000. After housing, car, food, insurance, and basic living expenses, you might have $5,000 to $10,000 a year left over. If you're disciplined, you save it. You invest it. At 7% annual return, investing $10,000 a year for 30 years gets you about $1 million. That sounds good. Until you realize you worked 30 years to accumulate it. You're now in your 50s or 60s. And $1 million isn't what it used to be. It might generate $40,000 a year in income, less than you were making working. This is the employee system. Work your entire life. Save diligently. Retire with less income than you had working. This isn't wealth. This is surviving until you're old. Now let's talk about taxes. The employee system is the highest tax system. You get taxed on income before you even see it. Payroll taxes, income taxes, then you get taxed when you spend. Sales taxes, then you get taxed on what you own, property taxes. Then when you invest, you get taxed on gains, capital gains taxes. Then when you die, they tax what you're leaving behind. Estate taxes. The employee is taxed at every single point. And there's no way to avoid it because everything is visible. Your employer reports your income. The government knows exactly what you make. You can't hide it. You can't defer it. You can't structure it. You just get taxed. Heavily. This is by design. The employee system is the tax system's favorite customer. Here's another problem. The employee system has no leverage. Leverage is using something to multiply your efforts. In finance, it means using tools, systems, or other people's resources to multiply results. The employee has none of this. You work, you get paid a fixed amount. You work harder, you get paid the same. You work smarter, you get paid the same. Maybe you get a raise, 3%, 5% if you're lucky. Your income is directly tied to your time and has almost no leverage. This is why you can't get rich as an employee. There's a ceiling. Even high-paid employees, doctors making $300,000, lawyers making $400,000, they're still broke if they spend what they make. Because there's no leverage, just high income, high expenses, and no assets. Now let's talk about what the system trains you to do with money. Spend it. The entire economy is designed to extract money from employees. You get paid. Marketing tells you to buy things. Credit makes it easy. Social pressure makes it expected. You buy a house that's too expensive, a car that depreciates, stuff you don't need, experiences that are gone the moment they're over. You're trained to be a consumer, to spend, not to invest, not to build assets, to consume. And consumption doesn't create wealth. It destroys it. Every dollar spent on consumption is a dollar that can't build wealth. But the system trains you to spend, because spending keeps the economy running. And the economy needs consumers, not wealthy people. Let's address the retirement account trap. You're told to invest in your 401k, tax-advantaged, employer match. Sounds great, but here's the reality. You put money in accounts you can't touch for decades. It grows slowly. 7% average if you're lucky. By the time you can access it, you're old. And the money has to last the rest of your life, so you can't spend it freely anyway. You worked 40 years to put money in a box you can't open until you're 65. Then you can open it and hope it's enough. This isn't wealth. This is deferred poverty. Real wealth is accessible, liquid, working for you now, not in 40 years. Here's the comparison. The employee system says trade time for money, pay taxes, save 10%, invest in retirement accounts, work for 40 years, retire. The wealth system says create assets that produce income, structure to minimize taxes, reinvest profits to compound, build wealth in years, not decades, retire when assets cover lifestyle. See the difference. One is slow, high-tax, time-dependent, and uncertain. The other is fast, low-tax, leverage-based, and controllable. The employee system is a guarantee of mediocrity. The wealth system is a path to riches. Now, why don't they teach the wealth system in school? Because school is designed to create employees, not wealthy people. Employees, the system needs workers, people who show up, do what they're told, and don't question it. If everyone learned the wealth system, who would work the jobs, who would be the employees? The system needs the majority to stay in the employee system. So that's what they teach. Get a job, be a good worker. The wealth system is learned outside school, from books, from mentors, from experience, but never in the standard curriculum. Because the standard curriculum is designed to create compliant workers, not independent, wealthy individuals. Here's the final piece. The employee system creates dependence. You depend on your employer for income. You depend on the government for retirement. You depend on the economy staying stable. You have no control. If you lose your job, your income stops. If the market crashes, your retirement shrinks. If inflation spikes, your savings lose value. You're at the mercy of forces you can't control. This is by design. Dependent people are controllable. Independent, wealthy people are not. The employee system keeps you dependent. The wealth system makes you independent. And independence is power. So why does the system you learned keep you broke? Because it's designed to. It's designed to create productive workers, not wealthy individuals. It's designed to extract your time and money, not help you build assets. It's designed to make you dependent, not independent. It's high tax, low leverage, time intensive, and consumption focused. It worked in a different economy. It doesn't work now. But it's still what everyone teaches because the system needs employees. It doesn't need more wealthy people. Now you know why you're broke. In the next chapter, you'll learn the actual wealth equation. Chapter 2: The Wealth Equation. You understand why the employee system keeps you broke. Now let's learn the system that makes you rich. I call it the wealth equation. It's simple, deceptively simple, but it's how every wealthy person builds wealth. Here it is. Assets minus liabilities equals net worth. Income minus expenses equals cash flow. Cash flow reinvested into assets equals wealth. That's it. That's the entire equation. Let's break it down. Assets are things that put money in your pocket. Liabilities are things that take money out. Most people think their house is an asset. It's not. It's a liability. It costs you money every month. Mortgage, taxes, insurance, maintenance, it's taking money out of your pocket. That's a liability. An asset is rental property that generates more rent than it costs. A business that generates profit. Stocks that pay dividends. Intellectual property that earns royalties. These put money in. That's the difference. The first rule of wealth is acquire assets, not liabilities. Most people acquire liabilities thinking they're assets. That's why they stay broke. Net worth is assets minus liabilities. If you have $100,000 in assets and $50,000 in debt, your net worth is $50,000. Most people have negative net worth. They owe more than they own, or they have low net worth because everything they own is liabilities. The goal is to increase net worth, not by working harder and saving, but by acquiring assets and eliminating liabilities. Every financial decision should increase net worth. Will this increase my assets or decrease my liabilities? If neither, don't do it. Now cash flow. This is income minus expenses. If you make $5,000 a month and spend $5,000, your cash flow is zero. You're broke. If you make $5,000 and spend $4,000, you have $1,000 in cash flow. This is crucial. Cash flow is what you have available to invest in assets. Most people have no cash flow. They spend everything they make, or more than they make going into debt. Zero or negative cash flow means zero wealth building. You need positive cash flow. And the bigger the cash flow, the faster you build wealth. Here's how to increase cash flow. 2 ways. Increase income or decrease expenses. Most people focus only on income. Get a raise, get a better job. This works, but it's limited. There's a ceiling on employment income. And increased income often leads to increased expenses. Lifestyle inflation. The better approach is both. Increase income and decrease expenses, but decrease expenses first. Because cutting expenses gives you immediate cash flow. Increasing income takes time. Cut your expenses by 20% today, and you immediately have 20% more cash flow to invest. Now the wealth multiplication part. Cash flow reinvested into assets equals wealth. This is compounding. You have 1,000 in cash flow. You invest it in an asset that returns 10%. Next year you have 1,100, you reinvest. Now you're earning on 1,200. This compounds, but here's the key. You need to reinvest, not spend. Most people get extra cash and spend it. Lifestyle inflation. They make more, they spend more. Wealth is built by reinvesting. Every dollar of cash flow that goes into assets instead of consumption is a dollar building wealth. Every dollar spent on consumption is a dollar that can't compound. Let's talk about the velocity of money. This is how fast your money moves through the wealth cycle. Slow velocity means you earn money, it sits in savings, eventually you invest it. Slow. High velocity means you earn money, immediately invested in assets. Those assets produce income. You reinvest that income into more assets. Fast. Wealthy people have high velocity money. It's always working, always invested, always producing, always being reinvested. Broke people have low velocity money. It sits. It gets spent. It doesn't work. Increase the velocity of your money and you increase the speed of wealth building. Here's the difference between saving and investing. Saving is setting money aside. It sits in a bank account earning nothing. Maybe 1%, it's safe, but it's not working. Investing is putting money into assets that produce returns. 10%, 20%. 50% in the right assets, it's working, it's growing. Saving is necessary for emergencies, but saving doesn't create wealth. Investing does. The wealthy save 3 to 6 months of expenses for emergencies. Everything else is invested, working, growing. The broke save if they can, and it just sits there losing value to inflation. Now let's talk about types of assets. There are 3 main wealth vehicles: business ownership, real estate, financial assets like stocks and bonds. Each has different characteristics. Business ownership has the highest potential returns but requires the most work and risk. Real estate has moderate returns, moderate work, and moderate risk. Financial assets have the lowest returns, lowest work, and lowest risk. Most people only know about financial assets. Stocks, bonds, index funds. These are fine for preservation but terrible for wealth building. 7% annual return doesn't create wealth quickly. Business ownership and real estate create wealth much faster. Here's the wealth vehicle selection process. If you have time and energy and want the highest returns, build or buy a business. If you have capital and want passive income, invest in real estate. If you have neither time nor capital, start with financial assets and hustle to create capital for the other 2. The wealthy use all 3, But they don't start with all three. They master one, build wealth, then diversify. The broke try to do everything at once and master nothing. Pick one vehicle. Master it, build wealth, then add others. Let's talk about leverage again. Leverage is using other people's time, money, or resources to multiply your results. In business, leverage is employees, systems, and technology. You create a system that makes money without requiring your time directly. In real estate, leverage is debt. You use the bank's money to buy property. The property produces income that pays the debt and leaves profit. In financial assets, leverage is compounding and sometimes margin. Your money earns returns that get reinvested and earn more returns. Leverage is what separates the wealthy from the broke. The broke trade their own time for money. The wealthy use leverage to multiply money. Here's the tax advantage piece. Different wealth vehicles have different tax treatments. Business owners can deduct expenses. They pay themselves strategically to minimize taxes. Real estate investors get depreciation deductions. They can defer taxes through exchanges. Financial asset investors pay capital gains taxes, which are lower than income taxes. Employees pay the highest taxes. The system is designed to reward asset ownership and punish employment. The wealthy structure their lives to maximize asset ownership and minimize employment income. The broke stay in employment and pay maximum taxes. Now the concept of asymmetric risk. This is taking risks where the potential upside is much larger than the potential downside. The employee system is symmetric. You work, you get paid predictably. You work more, you get paid a little more. No asymmetry. Wealth building requires asymmetry. You invest time or money into an asset with the potential to return 10 times, 50 times, 100 times. You might lose the investment, but the upside is enormous compared to the downside. This is how wealth is built. Small investments with massive potential returns. Not guaranteed, but asymmetric. Here's the wealth equation in practice. Cut expenses to create cash flow. Invest cash flow into assets. Choose the wealth vehicle that fits your situation. Use leverage to multiply results. Structure for tax advantages. Take asymmetric risks. Reinvest all returns. Compound. Repeat. Do this consistently for years and you will build wealth. It's not complicated. It's just different from what you were taught. The employee system is trade time for money, spend most of it, save a little, retire eventually. The wealth system is create cash flow, invest in assets, use leverage, minimize taxes, compound aggressively, retire when assets cover lifestyle. The first takes 40 years and leaves you comfortable at best. The second takes 10 to 20 years and makes you wealthy. So that's the wealth equation. Simple but powerful. Assets over liabilities. Cash flow over expenses. Reinvestment over consumption. Leverage over linear effort. Tax optimization over tax ignorance. Asymmetric risk over safe mediocrity. This is how the wealthy think about money. This is the system they use, and now you know it. In the next chapter, we'll go deeper into the 3 wealth vehicles and how to choose yours. Chapter 3. The 3 wealth vehicles. You know the wealth equation. Now let's get specific about the 3 vehicles that actually build wealth, business ownership, real estate, financial assets. Each one works. Each one has built millions of fortunes. The key is choosing the right one for your situation and going deep. Let's start with business ownership. This is the fastest path to wealth. It's also the riskiest and requires the most effort, but the returns are unmatched. A successful business can make you wealthy in 5 to 10 years, not 40. 5 to 10. Here's why. A business has unlimited upside. You can scale. You can serve more customers. You can expand to new markets. You can increase prices. You can create new products. There's no ceiling. Employment has a ceiling. Your salary. Business has no ceiling. There are two paths to business ownership: build or buy. Building means starting from scratch. This requires an idea, execution, and time to grow. The advantage is you can start with little capital. The disadvantage is high failure rate and years of grinding before profit. Buying means purchasing an existing business. This requires capital up front. The advantage is immediate cash flow if you buy right. The disadvantage is you need money to start. Most people without capital start by building. Bootstrap. Reinvest profits. Grow. Once you have capital from the first business, you can buy others. Here's what makes a business a good wealth vehicle: scalability. Can you serve more customers without proportionally increasing costs? Recurring revenue. Do customers pay monthly, or do you have to find new customers constantly? Margin. Do you keep a significant percentage of revenue as profit? Defensibility. Can competitors easily copy you, or do you have advantages? A business with all four characteristics can create enormous wealth. A business with none is just a job you own. Before starting or buying a business, evaluate it on these four criteria. Let's talk about the business building path. You need a skill that people will pay for. Then you need to package that skill as a service or product. Start as a freelancer or consultant if you have no capital. Trade your time for money initially to prove the model. Then systematize, hire, create processes. Remove yourself from the day-to-day. Now you have a business that runs without you. This transition from freelancer to business owner is where wealth happens. As a freelancer, you're still trading time for money. As a business owner, the business makes money whether you're working or not. That's leverage. The business buying path requires capital. Where do you get it? Save it from employment or a side business. Borrow it from investors or partners. Use seller financing where the current owner finances part of the sale. Get an SBA loan. There are ways, but you need to be serious. Buying a business isn't casual. You're committing significant money. You need to know how to evaluate businesses, negotiate deals, and operate profitably. This is learnable, but it requires education and experience. Start small if you go this path. Buy a small cash-flowing business. Learn, then buy bigger. Now let's talk about real estate. This is the most proven wealth vehicle. More millionaires have been created through real estate than any other vehicle. Why? Leverage, tax benefits, tangibility, and consistent demand. People always need places to live and work. Real estate isn't as fast as business, but it's more reliable, and it's accessible to more people. You don't need a special skill. You need capital and knowledge. Both are acquirable. There are different real estate strategies. Rental properties for cash flow, flipping for quick profit, development for large gains, commercial real estate for higher returns. Most people start with rental properties, buy a property, rent it out. Use the rent to cover the mortgage and expenses. Keep the profit. Over time, the property appreciates. You build equity. You have cash flow. You have appreciation. You have tax benefits from depreciation. This is a wealth-building machine. The key is buying right. If you overpay, the numbers don't work. If you buy at the right price, cash flow is positive from day one. Here's the leverage part of real estate. You can buy a property with 20% down. The bank finances 80%. You control the entire asset with a fraction of the capital. If the property appreciates 10%, you made 50% return on your down payment. That's leverage. Your money is multiplied. This is legal, acceptable, and how real estate creates wealth. You use the bank's money to build your wealth. As long as the property cash flows, the bank is happy, and you're building equity. The real estate path requires capital for down payments. If you don't have it, you need to create it. Save aggressively. Sell things. Work a second job temporarily. Partner with someone who has capital while you provide the work. House hack. By living in a multi-unit property and renting out the other units. There are creative ways to start with little money, but eventually you need capital to scale. The first property is the hardest. Once you have one, you can leverage its equity for the next. Then you can scale. Build a portfolio, 10 properties, 20, 50, each producing cash flow. That's wealth. Now financial assets, stocks, bonds, index funds. This is the easiest vehicle. It requires the least knowledge, the least work, and produces the lowest returns. That's the trade-off. Easy but slow. The wealthy use financial assets for preservation and diversification, not for wealth building. The broke use it as their only investment and wonder why they're not getting rich. 7% annual return on small amounts of capital doesn't create wealth quickly, but it's better than nothing. And it's where most people should start while building capital for the other vehicles. Here's how to use financial assets correctly. Index funds for stability. Dividend stocks for income. Growth stocks for appreciation. Bonds for safety. The allocation depends on age and risk tolerance. Younger people can be aggressive. Older people should be conservative. But even aggressive stock investing is conservative compared to business ownership or real estate. The real use of financial assets is passive investing while you focus energy on the higher return vehicles. You can't actively manage stocks and build a business and invest in real estate. Pick one to focus on. Put the rest in passive index funds. Let's talk about which vehicle to choose. If you have more time than money, build a business. If you have more money than time, invest in real estate. If you have neither time nor money, start with financial assets and a side business to create capital. Most people fit the first category. You have time. You lack capital, so build a business. Use your time to create value. Turn that value into income. Turn that income into capital. Then use capital for real estate and financial assets. The wealthy typically start with business, build capital, then diversify into real estate and financial assets. They don't start with all three. They start with one. Here's the mistake people make. They try to do everything. They have a full-time job. They try to start a business. They try to invest in real estate. They try to pick stocks. They're spread thin. They master nothing. They build no real wealth. Instead, focus. Pick one wealth vehicle. Go deep. Master it, build significant wealth. Then add a second vehicle. The focused approach works. The scattered approach doesn't. You're better off with one successful business than 3 failed side hustles and a stock portfolio that goes nowhere. Now the timeline. Business ownership can create wealth in 5 to 10 years if successful. Real estate takes 10 to 20 years to build a significant portfolio. Financial assets take 30 to 40 years to build wealth through compounding. These are rough timelines. Some people do it faster, some slower, but they give you an idea. If you're young, you have time for any vehicle. If you're older, business ownership is your best bet for speed. Real estate is middle ground. Financial assets are too slow if you're starting late. Finally, combining vehicles for maximum wealth. Once you build wealth in one vehicle, you can diversify. Successful business owners invest profits in real estate for stable cash flow and tax benefits. Real estate investors use cash flow to start businesses for higher growth. Financial asset investors use dividends to fund business ventures. The vehicles complement each other. Business for growth, real estate for stability, financial assets for liquidity. The wealthy end up with all three. But they don't start with all three. They master one, build wealth, then add others. So which vehicle is yours? Look at your situation. Time, capital, skills, risk tolerance, be honest. Then pick one, commit to it, learn everything about it, take action, build wealth in that vehicle. Don't dabble, don't spread yourself thin, go deep. In the next chapter, we'll talk about creating leverage so your wealth multiplies. Chapter 4. Creating Leverage. You've chosen your wealth vehicle. Now let's talk about leverage. This is what separates slow wealth building from fast wealth building. Leverage is using something to multiply your efforts. Without leverage, wealth building is linear. You work, you get paid, you invest, you get returns. Linear. With leverage, wealth building is exponential. Your efforts multiply, your money multiplies, your time multiplies. This is how people get rich fast, not fast like overnight. Fast like 10 years instead of 40. Let's break down the types of leverage. First, financial leverage. This is using borrowed money to invest. The most common example is real estate. You buy a property with 20% down and 80% bank financing. If the property appreciates or produces cash flow, you're earning returns on the bank's money. This multiplies your returns. A 10% appreciation on 100,000 property is 10,000. If you only put down 20,000, that's a 50% return on your money. That's financial leverage. It magnifies returns. It also magnifies risk. If the property loses value, you lose more than if you paid cash. But used wisely, financial leverage accelerates wealth building dramatically. Here's how to use financial leverage safely. Only borrow for assets, never liabilities. If it doesn't produce income or appreciate, don't borrow for it. Keep debt-to-income ratio reasonable. If cash flow can't comfortably cover debt payments, it's too much leverage. Have reserves. Never be one missed payment away from disaster. Build an emergency fund before using leverage. Use fixed-rate debt when possible. Variable rates can spike and destroy your cash flow. Financial leverage is powerful, but it requires discipline and preparation. Used recklessly, it destroys you. Used wisely, it builds wealth. Second, time leverage. This is using other people's time to multiply your efforts. As an employee, you trade your time for money. 1 hour of your time equals 1 hour of pay. There's no leverage. As a business owner, you hire people. Their time generates income for you. You might work 40 hours, but you have 10 employees each working 40 hours. You're leveraging 400 hours of work, not just your own 40. This is how business owners make money while sleeping. The business operates without them, because other people's time is generating the income. Here's how to create time leverage. Hire people to do tasks that don't require you. Automate processes where possible. Build systems that can run without your constant involvement. The goal is to remove yourself from day-to-day operations. You oversee, you strategize, but you're not doing everything. Initially, you will do everything. You're building. But the goal is to transition from doing to overseeing. From worker to owner. This transition is where time leverage happens. And it requires intentionally building systems and hiring people. It won't happen accidentally. Third, systems leverage. This is creating processes and tools that multiply your output. A system is a repeatable process that produces consistent results. McDonald's is a system. They can take an unskilled worker and train them to produce consistent burgers anywhere in the world. That's systems leverage. You want the same in your wealth vehicle. Create systems for how you find deals, how you evaluate them, how you execute, how you manage. These systems make you faster and more consistent. They allow you to scale because you're not relying on individual genius each time. You're following a proven process. Software is systems leverage. A developer creates software once and it can serve millions of users. That's leverage. You're not trading time for money. You're creating once and selling infinitely. This is why software businesses are so valuable. Massive leverage. Look for ways to create leverage through systems and technology in your wealth vehicle. Can you automate parts of your business? Can you create processes that employees can follow without you? Can you use technology to multiply your reach? These are systems leverage questions. Fourth, knowledge leverage. This is using specialized knowledge to create asymmetric value. If you know something others don't, you can create value far beyond the time invested in learning it. A consultant who knows how to fix a specific business problem can charge $10,000 for 2 hours of work. That's knowledge leverage. The knowledge took years to acquire, but the application takes hours and creates massive value. Invest in knowledge. Not just any knowledge. Specialized knowledge that's valuable and rare. This creates leverage. Fifth, network leverage. This is using relationships to multiply opportunities. Who you know can open doors, create deals, provide capital, provide customers. The wealthy are wealthy partly because they know other wealthy people. They share deals, they partner, they invest together. Build. Network intentionally. Not for fake networking. For real relationships with people on the same wealth-building path. These relationships create opportunities you'd never have alone. Network leverage is subtle but powerful. Now let's talk about compounding leverage. When you combine multiple types of leverage, they multiply each other. A business owner using financial leverage to expand, time leverage through employees, systems leverage through automation, knowledge leverage through expertise, and network leverage through relationships is creating exponential growth. Each type of leverage multiplies the others. This is how people go from broke to wealthy in a decade. They stack leverage. They use every type available. And the result is exponential, not linear growth. Here's how to start creating leverage with no money. Start with knowledge leverage. Learn a valuable skill, offer it as a service, create income. Use that income to create systems leverage, build processes, automate. Now you can serve more clients without proportionally more time, hire someone. Now you have time leverage. Their time expands your capacity. Use the profits to build financial leverage. Borrow to invest in assets. Now your money is multiplied. Build a network as you go. Relationships create opportunities. In a few years, you've gone from zero leverage to multiple types, and your wealth building has gone from linear to exponential. Let's address the fear of leverage. Debt is scary. Hiring is risky. What if it doesn't work? Here's the reality. Leverage amplifies results. Good results get better. Bad results get worse. If your business or investment is profitable without leverage, leverage makes it more profitable. If it's unprofitable without leverage, leverage makes it worse. So the key is prove the model first. Make sure it works. Then add leverage. Don't start with massive leverage on an unproven idea. Start small. Prove it works, then leverage. Finally, the discipline of leverage. Leverage gives you power, but power without discipline is dangerous. Just because you can borrow $1 million doesn't mean you should. Just because you can hire 20 people doesn't mean you need to. Use leverage strategically. Ask yourself, will this leverage create more value than it costs? If yes, use it. If no or uncertain, wait. Leverage is a tool. Like any tool, it can build or destroy. Used wisely with discipline, it builds wealth. Used recklessly, it creates disaster. Be strategic. Be disciplined. Create leverage intentionally. In the final chapter, we'll talk about protecting and growing the wealth you build. Chapter 5. Protecting and Growing Wealth. You've learned the system. You're building wealth. Now let's make sure you keep it and grow it, because getting rich is one thing, staying rich is another. Many people build wealth and then lose it. Bad investments, lawsuits, taxes, lifestyle inflation, lack of protection. You need to understand how to protect wealth and how to continue growing it once you have it. Let's start with protection. The wealthy use legal structures to protect assets. LLCs, trusts, corporations. These separate personal assets from business or investment assets. If something goes wrong in the business, your personal assets are protected. If someone sues you personally, your business assets are protected. This is legal and smart. Consult with an attorney to set up proper structures. Don't operate as an individual if you're building real wealth. Structure properly. Insurance is the second layer of protection. Liability insurance, umbrella policies, property insurance. These protect against events that could wipe you out, a lawsuit, a disaster, unexpected loss. The wealthy are heavily insured not because they're paranoid, because they have something to lose. A lawsuit that would bankrupt a broke person is just an insurance claim for a wealthy person. Insurance is the price of protection. Pay it. The cost is small relative to what you're protecting. Now let's talk about tax protection. The wealthy don't pay more taxes because they're noble. They pay less because they structure correctly. They use legal deductions. depreciation on real estate, business expenses, retirement accounts for business owners, qualified opportunity zones, tax loss harvesting, all legal, all designed to minimize taxes. You should do the same. Hire a good accountant, not the person who does simple tax returns. A real tax strategist. Someone who understands wealth and structures. They'll save you more than they cost. The difference between paying 30% in taxes and paying 15% is enormous over a lifetime. That's protection through tax strategy. Let's address estate planning. When you die, what happens to your wealth? Without a plan, the state decides. With a plan, you decide. Wills, trusts, beneficiary designations. These ensure your wealth goes where you want it to go, and they can minimize estate taxes. If you're building significant wealth, estate planning is essential. Not when you're old, now, because you could die unexpectedly. And without a plan, your family deals with a legal nightmare. Set it up. Update it as life changes. Protect your family. Now growing wealth. Once you have it, you can't stop. Stopping means inflation slowly erodes it. You need to keep growing, but the strategy changes. When you have little, you take big risks. You go for home runs. When you have significant wealth, you protect downside while seeking upside. You're more conservative. You can't afford to lose what you've built. This is why the wealthy diversify, not because diversification creates wealth. It doesn't. Focus creates wealth, but diversification protects it. Here's the diversification strategy. You built wealth in one vehicle, let's say business. You have a successful business generating significant income. Now you diversify, take some profits and invest in real estate. Different market, different risk. If the business struggles, real estate might be fine. Take some profits and invest in stocks. Liquid, easy to access. If you need cash quickly, stocks are there. You're not putting all eggs in one basket anymore. You've built wealth through focus. Now you protect it through diversification. Let's talk about reinvestment versus distribution. When your assets produce income, you have a choice. Reinvest it to grow faster, or take distributions to improve lifestyle. In the wealth-building phase, reinvest everything. Lifestyle stays the same. All profits go back into assets. This is how wealth compounds aggressively. Once you've reached a level where you feel secure, you can start taking distributions. But even then, reinvest most. Maybe take 20% for lifestyle. Reinvest 80%. The temptation is to increase lifestyle proportionally with wealth. Resist. Lifestyle inflation destroys wealth accumulation. Here's the sustainable withdrawal concept. When you're truly wealthy, you live off a small percentage of your assets, maybe 4% annually. If you have $5 million in assets, 4% is $200,000 a year. You can live very well on that. And the other 96% keeps working, keeps compounding, keeps growing. You're not depleting principal. You're living off the growth. This is sustainable wealth. You can live this way indefinitely. The wealthy understand this. The newly rich often don't. They think they're rich and spend accordingly. Then they're broke. Now let's address lifestyle creep. As you build wealth, the temptation to upgrade lifestyle is enormous. Bigger house, nicer car, expensive vacations, designer clothes. This is the trap that prevents wealthy people from becoming truly wealthy. They make more, they spend more. Their net worth grows slowly or not at all because increased income is offset by increased expenses. Fight this. Keep lifestyle reasonable even as wealth grows. Not miserly. Reasonable. You can afford some luxury. But don't let luxury become your new baseline. That's the trap. Here's a practical rule. For every dollar of increased income from assets, increase lifestyle by 20 cents and reinvest 80 cents. This allows you to enjoy some benefit while continuing to build aggressively. It's balanced, not deprivation, not excess. Balanced. If your rental properties generate an extra $1,000 a month, take $200 for yourself and reinvest $800. This is sustainable and keeps wealth growing. Let's talk about avoiding wealth destroyers. Divorce destroys wealth. Protect your marriage or protect your assets through prenups, lawsuits. We covered this with structures and insurance. Fraud. Be careful who you trust with money. Family and friends are often the worst investments. Lending money you can't afford to lose. Speculation without understanding. Investing in things you don't understand, hoping to get rich quick. These destroy wealth. Avoid them. Be disciplined. Be smart. Protect what you've built. Now, continuous learning. The wealthy never stop learning about money. They read, they attend conferences, they have advisors, they stay current. Markets change, laws change, opportunities change. If you stop learning, you fall behind. Make financial education a lifelong habit. Read books. Listen to podcasts. Learn from people who have more wealth than you. This keeps you sharp. It prevents complacency. It opens new opportunities. Finally, the mindset of stewardship. You're not just getting rich for yourself. You're building something that can outlast you, that can support your family, that can create opportunity for others, that can make an impact. This mindset changes how you treat wealth. It's not just about consumption, it's about stewardship, building, protecting, growing, passing on. This is how generational wealth is created, not by getting rich and spending it all, but by building, protecting, growing, and passing it on. That's true wealth. You now know how to protect wealth through structures, insurance, tax strategy, and estate planning. You know how to grow wealth through reinvestment, diversification, and compound growth. You know how to avoid wealth destroyers. You know the importance of continuous learning, and you know the mindset of stewardship. You have the complete system, from broke to wealthy to generationally wealthy. Everything you need. The rest is execution. Let's bring this together. You learned why the system you were taught keeps you broke. It's designed for a different economy. It's high tax, low leverage, time intensive, and consumption focused. It creates workers, not wealth. You learn the wealth equation: assets over liabilities, cash flow over expenses, reinvestment over consumption, leverage over linear effort. This is how wealth is actually built. You learn the 3 wealth vehicles: business ownership for speed and high returns, real estate for stability and leverage, financial assets for ease and preservation. Pick one, master it, build wealth, then diversify. You learned about leverage, financial, time, systems, knowledge, network. These multiply your efforts and accelerate wealth building. Use them strategically and watch exponential growth. You learn to protect and grow wealth. Legal structures, insurance, tax strategy, estate planning, diversification, reinvestment, avoiding wealth destroyers, continuous learning, stewardship. This is how you keep and multiply what you build. So here's what it all comes down to. Getting rich isn't mysterious, it's a system. A specific, repeatable system. The system nobody teaches because the system needs workers, not wealthy people. But now you know it. You have the complete roadmap. From broke to building to wealthy to protected. Everything is here. Right now, choose your wealth vehicle. Business, real estate, or financial assets. Choose one. Write it down. Then take one action toward it this week. Research businesses to start or buy. Look at rental properties in your area. Open an investment account. One action, that's it. That's how it starts. Not with perfection, with one step. Here's what happens when you do. First, it feels small, insignificant. One action doesn't feel like it's building wealth, but you're building momentum, proving to yourself you can move. Then you take another action, then another. Then you have momentum, then you have progress, then you have results. Then you have wealth, not overnight, but real, compound, growing. And one day you look back and realize you're not broke anymore. You didn't follow the employee system. You followed the wealth system. And it worked. You have everything you need. The knowledge, the system, the roadmap. Now you just need to use it. Stop following the broke person's playbook. Stop trading time for money with no leverage. Stop believing the lies that keep you dependent. Start building assets. Start creating leverage. Start following the system that actually works. The system the wealthy use. The system nobody teaches. Until now, you've learned it. Now use it. Get rich.